page 160 in our World and Space book. How hard is the wind blowing? A gentle breeze ruffles your hair. A strong breeze may turn your umbrella inside out. On these pages, you will find out how to tell how hard the wind is blowing by watching what it does, and you will learn the names we give to different speeds of wind. In calm air, smoke rises straight up. The wind is blowing less than 1 mile per hour. Calm wind. In light air, smoke drifts slightly, but weather vanes do not move. Wind speed is 1 to 3 miles per hour. A light breeze moves weather vanes and makes leaves rustle. So that is a light air. This is a light breeze. A light air is 1 to 3 miles per hour, and a light breeze is 4 to 7 miles per hour. A light breeze moves weather vanes and makes leaves rustle, 4 to 7 miles per hour. A gentle breeze makes leaves and small twigs move and light flags flutter. Wind speed is 8 to 12 miles per hour. In a moderate breeze, small branches sway and dust and paper blow about. Wind speed is 13 to 18 miles per hour. In a fresh breeze, small trees sway and waves break on lakes. Wind speed is 19 to 24 miles per hour. A strong breeze makes big branches sway and may turn umbrellas inside out. Wind speed is 25 to 31 miles per hour. A moderate gale whose trees sway and it is hard to walk against the wind is 32 to 38 miles per hour. A fresh gale breaks twigs off trees and makes walking very difficult. Wind speed is 39 to 46 miles per hour. A strong gale blows off roofs and may do slight damage to buildings. Wind speed is 47 to 54 miles per hour. A whole gale will uproot trees and often do much damage to buildings. Wind speed is 55 to 63 miles per hour. A storm causes widespread damage, but is very rare on land. Wind speed is 64 to 73 miles per hour. A hurricane causes violent destruction. Wind speed is 74 or more miles per hour. Measuring wind speed. Weather forecasters, aviators, sailors, and some other people must often know exactly how hard the wind is blowing. To find out, they use an instrument called an anemometer. Anemometer. Am I saying it right? Anemometer? Anemometer. Okay. You can make a simple anemometer for yourself. You'll need 4 paper cups, 2 strips of heavy cardboard, 4 by 12 inches, thin cardboard or heavy construction paper, 4 by 6 inches, crayon, scissors, transparent tape, long nail with a large head, and a ruler. Lay one heavy cardboard strip across the other to form a cross, like a plus sign. Tape the strips tightly together. Make a small hole in the middle of the cross and push the nail through the hole. With the crayon, color a broad strip around one of the cups so that it looks very different from all the others. Now make 2 4-inch slits lengthwise on the opposite sides of each cup. Slide each arm of the cardboard across through the slits in a cup, 1 cup on each arm. The ends of the arms should stick out about 1/2 inch beyond the side of each cup. The cups should all face the same direction. Roll the piece of thin cardboard around a pencil to make a 6-inch tube. Tape the tube together. Put the nail in the cross into the tube. Now, a wind blowing into the cups will make the cross spin around. Pick up the anemometer by the bottom of the tube and hold it out at arm's length. When it begins to spin, count the number of times the striped cup moves past your arm during 30 seconds. Divide the number by 5. This will give you the wind speed in miles per hour. Thus, if the striped cup goes around 10 times in 30 seconds, if the striped cup goes around 10 times in 30 seconds, you divide 10 by 5 and get 2, so the wind speed is 2 miles per hour. If you want to know what this would be in kilometers, multiply your answer by 1.609. 2 times 1.609 is 3.2 kilometers per hour. Whirlwinds. It is late afternoon in the summer. The air is hot and sticky. In the distance, a long line of clouds is gathering. There is a rumble of thunder. The line of dark clouds comes swirling over the prairie. Small, shaggy lumps of cloud hang from the bottoms of some of the larger clouds. A crackling rain of hail comes pouring down, and the sky flickers with lightning. Suddenly, from the lumpy mass at the bottom of a cloud, a dark cone sweeps down toward the earth. It looks like a huge, twisting snake hanging from the cloud. There is a terrible roaring noise. It's a tornado. Tornadoes are sometimes called whirlwinds or twisters. A tornado is a spinning, whirling wind that forms a long tube of air. Where the tube touches the ground, terrible things happen. The whirling wind can pick up a heavy truck and throw it through the air. It can pull houses apart and knock big, thick trees over. Tornadoes are caused when there is a warm, moist air beneath cold, dry air. The warm air rises up and cools quickly, letting go of its heat and water. This makes hail and rain fall. Air comes rushing in from all sides to take the place of the rising warm air. Because the wind blows from several different directions, the air begins to whirl. Tornadoes can happen in many parts of the world, but most tornadoes happen over the central part of the United States. It does not say where that is a picture of. I don't know if it's a painting or an actual picture. It looks like an actual picture, it just doesn't say. And this is the eye of a hurricane photographed from a space satellite. Oh, that's pretty cool. The storm with an eye. A hurricane is a storm that's shaped like a donut. It's a great whirling circle of clouds, hundreds of miles wide. In the middle is a hole where the air is perfectly calm. This hole is called the eye of the hurricane. No one knows for sure what causes hurricanes. A hurricane begins over the ocean near the equator, where the air is very hot, wet, and still. As great masses of this warm, wet air rise up, towering rain clouds form. Sometimes something happens to start the clouds whirling. Then warm air in the center of the clouds forms into an eye. When the wind reaches a speed of 74 miles an hour, the storm is called a hurricane. A hurricane is a great boiling, whirling circle of wind and rain. The wind of a hurricane is terrible indeed. It may blow at 200 miles an hour. It causes huge ocean waves that rush ahead of the hurricane. If these waves reach land, they can cause sudden, terrible floods. If a hurricane blows over land, the wind can tear up big trees by the roots and push over whole buildings. People in the path of a hurricane know that they are going to be hit by two storms. First, there is a long line of clouds, the front of the circle. The wind begins to blow hard, then harder, then harder. Rain comes pouring down. The sound of the blowing wind and rushing rain is like steady thunder. Then the wind dies down. The rain stops. The air grows very hot and still. The eye of the hurricane is passing over. It may take an hour or more to pass. Then the back of the circle arrives. Once more the howling wind blows, the driving rain pours down. The wind and rain rage again for a time. Finally, the back of the circle moves on, carrying the wind and rain to another place. The United States National Weather Service uses an alphabetical list of first names to identify hurricanes. Each season, the first hurricane is given a name that begins with A. It's a fact. Hurricanes have different names in different parts of the world. They are called cyclones when they happen over the Indian Ocean and typhoons in the Western Pacific. In Australia, a hurricane is called a willy willy. This is a picture of strong winds pushing great waves ashore during a hurricane. Doesn't say where. Dust devils and dust storms. This is a picture of a dust devil. A tornado is a whirling wind that comes down from the sky and touches the ground. Dust devils and sand pillars are whirling winds that go from the ground up into the sky. Whenever hot air rises, it causes a wind. On a hot, dusty prairie or a desert, rising hot air often begins to spin. Then it carries up a whirling cloud of dust or sand. On a prairie or on a dusty city street, these whirling clouds are called dust devils. They never get very high, but in a desert they sometimes go whirling up in a thick cloud 1,000 feet high. Then they are often called sand pillars. Sometimes when a large mass of hot desert air rises up, the wind that rushes in to take its place causes a sandstorm or dust storm. The wind sends the sand rushing through the air. Great clouds of dust rise up, turning the whole sky black. A desert storm can often blow for hours or even days. Floating water in the air. Clouds sometimes, they look like big gobs of whipped cream in the sky, and sometimes like soft floating feathers. Sometimes they're white as milk, and sometimes as dark as gloomy, has an angry frown. But what are clouds? Where do they come from? A cloud is simply billions and billions of tiny, tiny droplets of water or ice all clustered together. And the water that makes clouds comes from the earth. When you perspire on a hot, sunny day, you're helping to make a cloud. When a mud puddle dries up in the sunshine, it's going to become part of a cloud. Every day, the heat of the sun dries up tons and tons of water from everywhere on earth, from lakes and rivers, from the oceans and from mud puddles, plant leaves and perspiration. All this water is turned into a gas called water vapor. This gas goes floating up into the air. The water vapor is warm from the sun's heat, but as it rises higher and higher, it begins to cool. When it gets cool enough, it turns back into water or ice. Then tiny droplets form around tiny, tiny bits of dust in the air. These droplets make up clouds. Some clouds are all water, some are all ice, some are a mixture. You might think the water and ice would be so heavy it would fall to the ground, but the droplets are so very tiny that even the slightest wind is enough to keep them floating through the air. However, sometimes things happen that make droplets collect together and become large drops. Then the cloud falls to earth as a shower of raindrops.